Hi guys, it's Harmony here. I'm about to step into my online training, which is the Effective Guide to Training and Facilitation workshop. My participants are ready and waiting for me. I hope you enjoy a little glimpse of what this workshop has been about, and you can get a chance to register for next year's intake. Looking forward to seeing you there. And today part four. Part four was last week. So today we're talking about tips and tricks. So we've spent a lot of time talking about the skill sets, the technical skills that we need to have, the facilitation process. Now we are talking about tips, right? The fine tuning and refining of our skill set. How do we make that better? Okay. So I have an infographic here that's also in your notes, and it's basically covering all the tips that I find very, very useful for training and facilitation, and we're going to break those down individually. Thereafter, we're going to talk about frequently asked questions. So what are some of the questions that trainers and facilitators all over the world ask in relation to training and facilitation? About their role, about the participants, about their time in front of a session. What are some of those questions? And we're going to talk about that. Then I'm going to give you an opportunity to take some time to think about things that you'd like to ask. How do I handle something if this happened? How do I respond to something if that happens? And then we can engage on it. And then we're going to break down and talk about your assessment or assignment for next week. Okay. So when we're talking about the tips for effective facilitation, we're going to break them down into the following categories. We're going to talk about core skills, about framing, about the four main competencies that we have to focus on as trainers and facilitators, relationship building, what we call in and out listening, which I'll explain in a lot more detail. We're going to talk about engagement management, embracing the silence, which is something we're learning, right? We're learning that there's nothing wrong with pausing sometimes during a session. We're going to talk about active listening, our use of humor, and visual aids. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So what do you think about when I mention the term core skills? So if I say to you, what core skills are you supposed to have as a trainer or facilitator to make your facilitation or training effective? What kind of things come to mind? Okay, am I loading the gun?
So, yeah, I'm blank.
Okay.
You can load the gun.
Can I load the gun? Dada always wants the gun to be loaded. Okay, Priscilla, you can go first. Core skills. What comes to mind?
You see, what comes to mind is I'll just give it as an example. Like when you are applying for a job, they will state the core skills. Like in our case, it's the analytical skill. That's a core.
Yes.
In terms of the job that we do. So for me, that was what comes to mind when you say core skills. Those skills that you need to perform the function.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Right. So core skills are that things that are needed at the core, at the center of any profession, right? And in relation to facilitation and training, what kind of core skills do you think we need to possess? What are the core skills that any trainer or facilitator must have? Tata?
Presentation skills.
Presentation skills. Very good. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
If you've got a topic which you are going to watch, you need to plan, and maybe you are going to use a PowerPoint slides. That's your presentation.
Yeah. Very, very good.
Format.
Yeah. Yes, very good. Any other core skills that you think?
I don't know if communication is part of presentation, but I'll just say it's part of presentation.
Okay.
But another skill that is important, that I think is important, you spoke about it the other time, that as a facilitator, you need to be able to read the room. I don't know what skills that is, but
very good.
I can hear you.
Read the room and be empathy.
Yeah.
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 She should be a person who's like that.
Very good.
Somebody who is more understanding, like you pay attention
Definitely.
to
Definitely.
details. Yeah, something like that.
Definitely. Tata, you wanted to add something?
No, I didn't hear what Priscilla was saying. I was asking her what.
Oh, okay. So she was saying that one of the skills that she thinks is a core skill is our ability to read the room as facilitators.
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. So I think the best way to describe that in one word is to be intuitive. We have to have good intuitive skills. And and to be able to be intuitive, you need to read people. You need to have a high level of emotional intelligence, right? EQ. We spoke about EQ as well. And when you've mastered your EQ, empathy comes in, social awareness comes in, but also self-awareness comes in when we talk about EQ. So all of those things come into there, and that actually gives you the opportunity or the ability to be able to read the room better. So very well done, right? Some other core skills that we need to have as trainers or facilitator is our ability to generate questions on the spot, right? Rapid generation of questions. Very, very important, because remember, we are there to assist with thought exchange and ideas, right? And the best way that we can actually get that generation of thoughts and ideas flowing is the asking of questions, okay? So another core skill is that we are able to rapidly generate questions. That just basically means on the spot, ask a question. Don't just give the answer, right? Be able to generate questions rapidly to keep the flow of ideas going as fast and effectively as possible. Okay. Another thing that we need to be able to have as a skill is our ability to summarize and paraphrase. You have the workbook for the facilitator toolkit, right? I've given you that workbook, but I have a separate presentation that is a summarized or condensed version of that workbook. Because if I were to sit here and read page by page, all the information that is in that workbook would be here forever, right? So your ability as a trainer or facilitator is also important for you to develop summarizing and paraphrasing skills. Be able to condense information, not reduce it in its quality, just make it compact. Be concise, right? Have clarity and concision. That's a skill, and it's a core skill that we need to have. For you to take a long piece of information and summarize it in a way that you don't take away the important bits, but you make sure that the core information is actually translated is very, very important, especially in time-sensitive environments. For example, a meeting. If you've scheduled a meeting and there's only an hour and you have to discuss 15 slides, you need to find a way to actually do that without going over the allotted time, but at the same time share the important points. So can you see why being able to paraphrase, being able to be concise and summarize is an important skill as a trainer or a facilitator? All right. Another skill is that we need to encourage involvement, right? And engagement. Very, very important. You need to be the one that adds fuel to the fire. You need to create that atmosphere where people are able to be motivated to engage in a session. Otherwise, it's just dead, right? And a dead session means there's no activity. And if there's no activity, there's no curiosity. And we all know that curiosity is what activates ideas and activates the sharing of knowledge, right? So it's your responsibility to have that skill that is encouraging for engagement, and that people around us are engaging in the sessions that we are a part of. Does that make sense?
That's suggested by another unit.
Okay.
But I had a meeting with my director, and she saw a need for this training. And her go ahead, she gave me a go ahead.
Yeah.
And she actually thought it's something that should not limit us to only what's taking place in the section that suggested this, but it's something that the entire department really needs.
Yeah.
And it's something that they were doing it previously, but they stopped.
Okay.
So, and when she said that, I had a lot of questions, because now it will help me with the historical background to understand why did he stop, and what was the participation? Was it the people start by coming through?
Like
and
if we, in my case, like we come up with a song, we sing together,
Yes.
and then an example come in, or maybe a testimony, just to get them, just get them to be involved, and they will be able to listen more.
Yeah.
They will connect to the thing which we are going to be talking about.
Yeah.
On visual, even having maybe like somebody talking, maybe if it's a presentation or it's a video there, we just put, or even if it's on a tablet. Yeah, I believe that will help.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
will help. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But in all the points which are here on my side, I just have to be very attentive to them so that I can make sure that I didn't miss out anything.
Yes.
I believe through training myself and doing it, it will help me.
Yeah, definitely. But more importantly than actually just paying attention to the detail of these points is practice. Practice makes perfect. And the more you put yourself in the opportunities of speaking or facilitating or training, the more you practice these skills, the better you become at them. Yes, it's a very conscious thing that we have to implement these skills. But when you become a natural at it, it's through practice. Put yourself in the position to train more. Put yourself in the position to speak more. Put yourself in the position to present more. And you will watch these skills develop over time, right? So, of course, it's not stuff that's going to happen overnight, but it certainly will definitely not happen if you don't practice it. Okay. All right, are we good? Any questions? I loved reading them from that perspective. Completely different audience, completely different content, but the execution of the activities is similar, but you interpreted it differently because you are speaking to different people, right? So I like, well done for the plan, okay? So the only thing that I would add is I would add that part where you actually break it down, ne? So the part before this section, the part before the broken down agenda, that part where you literally write the module, what it is, how long you have them for, and then objectives. Okay, so I would include that part before this table, but this table is good, ne? And in terms of, like I said to Priscilla, I would add a little bit more detail in this last column, right? So if it's a small group discussion, how many minutes of your 45 minutes are you going to talk to them for, right? How long are you going to take here engaging in dialogue? We take things like that for granted, but every minute counts in a facilitation. It really does. And if you just have a roundabout figure and you just are like, no, it's 45 minutes and then we'll have a group discussion, your group discussion could end up taking a good 20 minutes and that's like half your time gone. Did you cover the rest of the content that you wanted to talk about? So every minute counts. And that's why it's so important for you to have phenomenal time management skills as a trainer or facilitator, because you always have to keep your finger on the pulse, making sure that you are able to capture everything that you came there to do in the time that you allotted it. So when you're doing your facilitation plan, always make sure that you specify minute for minute how much time you are spending on something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. But well done on the agenda. This is good. And then I just want to see here. So the checklist, oh, I see. So you put your facilitation plan down here. And then you put the agenda at the top. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This here. Okay, this part here. So part 2 and 3 come before the agenda. Does that make sense? And then the checklist.
Part 2.
Yeah, so part 2, part 3, and part 4 come before that table at the top. They come before this.
Okay.
Yes, and then the agenda comes afterwards. But yes, that's good. You have your objectives here and you have your time spent and then the module as well. Okay. I like the title Wisterhood. What's that about?
It's the same thing on the Wados.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. So it's a play on words in terms of sisterhood. You call it Wisterhood. I love
Yes.
it. Love it. Very, very great. Okay, so and then with the checklist, I would advise that you do your checklist in the form of a checklist. So having an actual section where you can tick off, right? So your item, check. Next thing that I need, check, right? So make it in the form of a checklist so that you can always reuse it for every workshop or every meeting or training that you have. Does that make sense? Yeah. So make it in the form of a checklist. You can include these questions, but in that checklist format. Okay. Which is also good. And then if we move down, this you did really, really well. So I like the fact that you selected the icebreakers that you were going to use, and you broke them down. Ne? So I like this is actually one of my favorite icebreakers, the never have I ever one. Okay. Which is great because you really get to understand or know people from a playful side. And you'll see today's session is about also using humor as an element of facilitation and training. So the never have I ever is a great icebreaker because people really tap into their naughty side and it just breaks the room and it makes the room lighter. So it's a great selection for icebreaker. And then assessment, also good. You broke down both of them very well. And then I loved this. Loved the feedback form, right? And what I like about it is the fact that you have simple ways for them to give it. A lot of times, some people who give feedback, even me, sometimes when I have to give feedback on something and people want me to write like a lot of sentences, I get irritated, right? Because I just want to say yes, no, maybe. I want to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, So this is a very good way to get feedback without getting people to talk or rather to type or write a lot. Ne? So well done for that. It's a good way to get their feedback where they just tick or they circle, which is great. Ne? So good job. And then you have a section for their comments, which is also good. So well done. Great job. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the clips from my online training session. Please remember to sign up for the next block, which is taking place in January 2025. Visit harmony.empowermenthub.co.za to look for the new dates to be part of the effective training and facilitation workshop. It's a fantastic way to enhance your training and facilitation skills at a reasonable cost and just to take your training skills that much better and over the edge once you get accredited. Remember, share knowledge and change the world.